Hey guys, welcome back. This is SlothGod Magic. If you're new here, my name is Zach, and I play Magic Arena a lot. I like to focus on a lot of the standard meta, and sometimes modern meta, commander things, other things like that. I build a lot of decks. I brew at least one every single day, and I like to make videos on a couple that I really enjoy. And I'm going to start off the Theros Beyond Death season. Theros Beyond Death just became available for Arena players on the 16th, and at the time of recording it is the 18th, very early in the morning. But I really wanted to pull this deck out for you guys and show you what it's been doing. I was trying to make some videos with one of my decks that doesn't have any Theros cards, just in case any of you out there don't have the wild cards to get a bunch of Theros decks built and ready for competitive level play. And we ran into an obvious tier 1 deck coming up, which is just mono black Grey Merchant, mono black Gary. And if you've ever played against Grey Merchant of Asphodel before, you know how broken of a card it is, really, how swingy it is. Just for 5 mana, you're basically swinging your opponent from their high pedestal position down to the squalor where you were just moments ago, and then you're just kind of free to, you know, develop your board a little bit more because you just have a big influx of turns to survive with once you drop your Gary, as long as you aren't completely empty boarded when he comes in. So let's just start from the very beginning and go over a quick deck tech before we jump into some games with Hail Gary. So to start off, the 1-drops, we're only going to be running one 1-drop creature, and that's Foulmire Knight. I tried Knight of the Ebon Legion in this deck, and I have him in the sideboard if we need a more aggressive strategy against control, because I think he would actually be a pretty good use for that. But honestly, Foulmire Knight's fine. It draws us a card for 3 mana if he comes in later in the game, which means he's not just dead like Knight of the Ebon Legion can be at some points. And just having a 1-mana 1/1 Death Touch is usually pretty good against all the Gruul and other aggro decks running around. So, pretty good inclusion here. Kaya's Ghost Form is probably the spicier card that I would put in this deck. It's a little iffy. It does give you another point of devotion if you're enchanting it on a creature that isn't immediately about to die, but if you're anticipating it to die, something like Foulmire Knight, where you're just going to be blocking a bigger creature anyway so that it can trade with Death Touch, Kaya's Ghost Form is perfect because it will give you devotion for the things that care about it in the deck, and then it will basically give you just 2 Death Touch creatures. It can also double up some of the triggers that we got here in the rest of the deck, so let's keep going on. Tymaret is not a bad card. I like it in this deck more because we need to be more defensive than offensive, but if you're really wanting to just drop your creatures and attack your opponent and then have Gary come down on turn 5 for the final reach, I think this probably might... I don't know. It could probably be a 2-of in a deck like that. I don't know if it's aggressive enough, but it has a really big butt most of the time and can block pretty much everything that doesn't have flying or other types of evasion. And then being able to exile creature cards from graveyards is actually extremely important right now because we have all this escape mechanic going on, and the cat deck is still running around, so it's really not a bad card. Yarok's Fenlurker, also good because it exiles stuff from the hand, meaning it can't be used for graveyard strategies, and it is just 2 mana for... or it's 2 black mana, meaning it's 2 mana for 2 devotion, which is also really good for us. And we went with a little bit of a discard theme here. This is another card that you can equip Kaya's Ghost Form onto, and it's a really good enter the battlefield trigger to repeat. We're going to run 3 copies of Ayara. It has the 3 mana, 3 devotion thing, which is always very good for us, and only 3 because she's legendary, obviously. Same thing with Tymaret. I just don't want to see too many of these things, because having 2 in your opening hand basically means you're drawing 6 cards instead of 7. But her ability is amazing. Having black creatures enter the battlefield to drain is going to help Gary get a little more reach than he normally would. And having another source of card draw on a body is also very good. Also something that we can start sacking the creatures that we equipped with Kaya's Ghost Form if we really need to, if they're not dying in combat. To keep up with the discard theme, and also permanents that are a little harder to get rid of, which is important for devotion, we're running 3 Davriel Shadow Mage to just come down on turn 3 and start tearing apart the hand, and then again, once the game gets a little later, and maybe we've switched life totals and they're down to 1, 2, or 0 cards in hand, then Davriel can start getting a little incremental damage as well. Foreboding Fruit, I think, is actually a really interesting card for what I'm trying to do, and you'll see why later. But we're actually going to be targeting our opponent with this at certain points in the game because it's going to translate from 2 to 4 to 6 damage, depending on what we have out, maybe even more. And then if we don't have a setup for that, then it's just draw 2 cards and then possibly gain some life later on. Murderous Rider is an obvious include because it's just murder stacked onto a creature that has devotion, so absolutely need to run it. Underworld Dreams is the main card that I was talking about, where we'll be targeting our opponent with Foreboding Fruit. Because for 3 mana, adding 3 devotion, again important, we are going to be pinging them every time they draw a card, which is already good against decks like Control, Fires, anything else that just wants to draw cards, which is a lot of decks. It's going to be dealing that extra little bit of damage so that when Gary finally does come down, it's usually just a one-shot or very close to it, allowing us to just ping them to death over the course of the next couple of turns. So that's really good, and then if we cast a Foreboding Fruit with Underworld Dreams or our other Planeswalker version of the damage effect of Underworld Dreams is Ob Nixilis. So if we're making them draw 2 and lose 2 just from Foreboding Fruit, and then we have an Underworld Dreams out, that's now 4 damage instead. And if we have 2 or multiple of these effects, then that damage is going to stack, and it's just another way to get that little extra bit of reach. So Ob Nixilis, obviously, in the deck, we can destroy creatures with him, make them draw a couple cards, destroy our own creatures that have Kaya's Ghost forms on them, or if we just need to draw cards, then it's kind of just a weird form of card advantage that we can manage. Castle Lockwayne is probably our best form of repeatable card advantage because we're going to be empty-handed pretty often in the deck. And 19 Swamps, so we're running 22 lands in the entirety. We also have 4 Duress in the sideboard to keep up with the discard effect if we're up against a control deck. This is the best thing that we can do on turn 1. Knight of the Ebon Legion, this is the second best thing that we can do on turn 1 against a control deck, and also I think we might bring him in against more aggro decks and side out things like Davriel because they don't really matter. They're going to be empty-handed very fast. Agonizing Remorse, again, just a catch-all, essentially removal spell, but it's Thoughtseize in for 2 mana, so that's not bad. Dreadhorde Invasion, obviously coming in against Control. I don't know, this sideboard's a little bit transformative just because the only thing that we have that's really tailored to a certain matchup is Cry of the Chronarium, which is either mono black, mono red, or the Cat Oven deck, just to get rid of the cats forever, because it hurts us pretty bad. The rest of it is just if you think the aggro deck you're up against is going to get empty-handed too fast to really make the discard effects matter, sideboard a couple of those out, side in things like Dreadhorde Invasion and Knight of the Ebon Legion, and if you're up against a mid-range deck that is going to be casting bigger things like Questing Beast and Ilharg, Agonizing Remorse is just better, and Knight of the Ebon Legion might just be better to get the death touch on it, and if you're up against Control, Duress, and Agonizing Remorse are both amazing, and then if you think that the Control isn't going to have a ton of creature removal for you, then Knight of the Ebon Legion would slot into that as well. So that's basically the deck. Let's hop into a couple ranked best of 3 games and see what we can do with it. Come on. Hail Gary. Hail Gary. Our Lord and Savior, Gary Christ, he's here to save us. Our opponent is Rio, another fellow Karn. We love anybody who has Karn. Artifact decks are the best decks. I was running a technically not mono blue, but mono blue artifact deck before we built mono black because I really think there's an interesting possibility for an artifact storm deck in standard, and if you guys want, I can put a video up of that. I probably just will anyway, but if you watch this, you see it on Reddit or YouTube, maybe tell me how you think about an Artifact Storm deck using Ugin and Tezzeret and Mystic Forge to just kind of churn through our deck from the very top of it. That is what we used and lost with and almost won. We almost beat a mono black Devotion deck with that a few times. It was a 2-1 game, I'll say. Okay, Yark's Fenlurker takes Omnixilis. It looks like they're going across the same realm as I am, running the Underworld Dreams idea instead of a more common aggro approach like we've been thinking people might do. So here's what we'll do now. I want to see, okay, that looks like a Devotion, more aggressive Devotion. But we're going to Kai's Ghost form this Fenlurker to just sneak in damage, and then eventually we'll just block with it and exile another card from their hand. And it's going to raise our Devotion for Timurit and Gary, which we have in hand. Yeah, see, that's something that this Fenlurker might just be able to attack into, and actually, no, it's not worth it. Because if they block it, then yeah, we get the trigger again, but they just gain 2 life and get a swing into us anyway. Possibly gaining 4. Oh yeah. That's something. If they decide to swing into us for the meme, we'll block with Timurit and the Yark's Fenlurker and kill this forest. Wow. Please do that. Please do that. No, you're right. No, that was correct, opponent. That was correct. I promise. I promise. Is it correct to swing at Nissa? It is not. We're gonna wait. Which stinks, but we have to. Well, this is worse than I expected it to be. Why Omnixilis? Is this a proliferate deck? Because that's kind of cool. Whoops. Okay, make more lands. If they swing with it, we're fine with that. We will block it. Nope. Okay. We have nothing to exile. Huh. I would like that Death Touch, but I need to draw this card. We're at a high life total. I'm not really too worried about dying. Wow, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, so I'm not worried about dying to their board right now. They can't do anything with Liliana except make tokens yet. Once she gets to the ult, it's going to be pretty tough. But hopefully we just draw land and start chaining together Grey Merchants. Shield's at 9, that gives us 2 turns. This turn and the next turn and the turn after. Goldsbore Shaman, what is this? This is weird. It's just like Golgari mid-range.
Get out of my way!
Okay, so we're going to be sacrificing this and this. Getting this back before they can play anything, so they exile 1 card from their hand. They will draw 2, so it's probably a good enough trade for them. Honestly surprised they didn't just keep making creatures and go for the ult, actually. Because we do have a Death Touch creature, and we were exiling a card from their hand. One of those cards actually ends up, they just end up with the same hand of cards. I honestly don't think there's an excuse to be running these anymore. Honestly, just because now we have the Scrylands. If you're on a budget, I suppose. You're in ranked, that's perfectly fine. I don't really like to spend wild cards on lands either. Well, there's our 5th land. They're probably going to ult their Nissa, which is fine. I mean, we have 3 Garys in hand. We'll be draining for 7, and then for 9, and then for a little bit more. 11. A little bit more. So I really think, just because of Gary, this deck is going to be amazing. Obviously, you probably don't build Mono Black Devotion without just taking into consideration how broken you can make Gary, because, I mean, what else are you doing with him? Or with it? The Devotion mechanic in black, you can make Temerate huge, cool, you can make Erebos a creature, which is neat. Oh, that stinks! Because he's an enchantment, you can target that. Yeah, that really stinks. So now our Devotion is a lot smaller, and we don't even have the lands to cast a Gary anymore, so we have to top deck another land. Swinging with their lands doesn't do anything. Swinging with that is probably appropriate. Can block that. Well, we could have killed it, but who cares? They have 4. Murderous Rider is actually really good right now. But now we have to decide whether we kill the Nissa or do we kill the Liliana. Liliana's going to keep making creatures that we can block, but the Nissa's more dangerous when she ults because she's going to ult with a loyalty counter and then keep making the lands that are indestructible attack us, which we really don't need. We're at 22. This is 2, 4, 6, 8, 11, 14, 17, 20, 23. So we will die if we swing all out at her. And all our creatures will die anyway, it's just pointless. Our best bet is to kill the Glowspore Shaman if it attacks. Great. With Fenlurker. Yeah, they read that finally. And then block one of the 3/3s with Grey Merchant. That way they're not drawing any cards and we're taking the least amount of damage we possibly can. Which is still going to set us to 5, which is dead next turn, unless we can find a land for Gary, gain 4, have 2 blockers, we'll still be dead, won't we? If we can find... No, that's nothing. I was going to say, if we can find Kaya's Ghost Form, we would have been able to enchant Gary and then play Murderous Rider, and at that point when we block with Gary, then he comes back, triggers off for 4, so we're blocking 3, gaining 4, gaining 2 from Murderous Rider, blocking another 3, and we would have taken 2, 4, 6, 8. Nah, I think we still would have lost. 4, 6, 8, 14. Yeah, we would have lost anyway. It was a good try, though. Okay, there we go. So against this deck, they don't get off the ground that fast. They start ramping, so Davriel's actually not bad. We're going to be on the play. I don't think Kaya's Ghost Form is that good. I definitely don't think Obnixilis is good because they're not drawing that many cards until they have Liliana. I mean, we're bringing in 4 Duress and 2 Agonizing Remorse no matter what. Treasure Evasion's nothing. Neither the Ebon Leech is pretty much nothing. So we need to get rid of 4 cards. Murderous Rider is impeccable, and Underworld Dreams probably isn't that great. We'll take out 1. We'll take out a couple Kaya's Ghost Forms, and then 1 Fenlurker. We'll go back up Fenlurker for an Underworld Dreams. Because I think the discard plan is probably more of a success now because we're going to try to be tearing it apart with turn 1 and 2 discard anyway. So having Yarok in there is probably not bad. Okay, sounds good. Turn 1 Duress. Turn 2, hopefully draw something. Turn 3, leave up Rider. Maybe, I don't know. We have turn 1 to rest. That's all we need. And then turn 3, Rider. Do we care about revenge? No, we don't. Not yet. What are they coming down with? They have Paradise Druid on turn 2, which is not very fun. Yeah, and they can come down with Crawl Harpooner. Wow, they brought in more creatures than I expected. And Revenge of Ravens. So if we win this one... Okay, this is going to come in as a 2-2 with a number of +1/+1 counters on for each card in your graveyard. Which means killing the Crawl Harpooner is actually a bad idea. Leave it. See, this is a hand that would fold to Cry of the Carnarium, which is sad. Oh, if they have a land, they get to play that. Yep, we'll let it get in. That's fine. It's only 3. Yeah! That's something we're happy Murderous Ridering. Translates into 5 total, but it's kind of worth it. That thing's going to deal so much damage over the course of the game. And if we didn't catch it early, we might be in a lot more trouble. I would love to drop Tezzeret, actually Timurit. We'll play Timurit, and then we'll enchant Timurit. So that we can block this Harpooner if they attack with it, and then also... Yeah, they're going to get the max amount of counters on that thing, but we don't really mind. They have to have a land to even... Oh, they don't. That's much better for us. Now we get to play Underworld Dreams to start ticking in damage. We can swing in to start ticking in damage. And we can start exiling cards from their graveyards so that they don't have anything to pump that Gruul thing, or Golgari thing. Give them a quick hello, because that's the spicy tech on Timurit. No one reads the part where you get to exile. It's not that good, but honestly, it is that good. It's only 2 mana. You're getting to hit 2 different cards. Oh, that's not good. That's very bad. We don't like that, because Timurit cannot block that. We have no creatures. They have no creatures. Gary drains for 7. And he still doesn't block Questing Beast. Play Murderous Rider. Leave up some exile life gain. I want these Garys to drain for as much as possible because I think now we're in a position that if we don't lose any devotion to removal, we just get to Gary next turn and then Gary the turn after and win. Yeah, so they played this thinking that we're going to be attacking, possibly, I don't know. This whole deck is not really revolving around creature damage. Oh, that's nice. So we get to play this. And then enchant it with Kaya's Ghost Form so that if we will be swinging into them, but if we swing into them and they choose to block, if they don't choose to block, they're taking 2, and if they do choose to block, then they take 10, but we'll see. This is a little too late right now. Just a tad. We can't block it, but we can block the land and kill it. I don't know what they're trying to do with that. And if they're gonna pump it and do a combat trick, then you can kill Gary. Okay, we take 4. Don't care. Gray Merchant. Good game. Mono black. Oh, Gary's not going to change anything. Mono black's the same as it ever was. You don't have to attack with a single creature, and you win the game. So, interestingly, it feels like they sideboarded in for a more creature-heavy matchup, which is definitely ironic because we don't attack at all. So, I wonder what would happen if we put in Knight of the Ebon Legion. And Cry of the Carnarium still looks really good, but we saw Underworld Dreams really help with the devotion because they don't have anything to remove it besides their giant thing that we're hopefully tearing out of the Casualties of War, which we're hopefully tearing out of their hand anyway. So we need Duress and we need Remorse. Ghost Form looked good there if something died, but it didn't in general. Foulmire Knight's still fine because the Death Touch can kill any of those things. None of our creatures at all can block Questing Beast, which is not the best. So maybe we just double down. I still think a couple cries is good. I was going to say we double down on the Underworld Dreams plan and just try to get them to draw out, but they can race us way faster when we do that. And their opening hand last game really makes me think that Cry of the Carnarium is probably just going to shut them down really fast. We won't play Foulmire Knight turn 1 in case we do draw a land. Oh, nice. Yeah, this is fine. If we didn't draw anything, we would just play to turn 2. Foulmire Knight is better when it can draw us cards. So we go turn 2, Fenlurker. If we have nothing to do on turn 3, like we don't draw a land, we'll probably just play Foulmire Knight to block this Harpooner. Or whatever it is they throw out this turn. Ugin! Was that my boy the Ineffable? Featured in the upcoming video of Mono Blue Artifact Storm? Yes, indeed it was. Indeed that was Mr. Ugin the Ineffable. How did you know? Yep. Getting this down as early as possible is the best option because then we just start chipping in damage. Over and over and over and over. If anybody likes the Chandra, the 6-mana Chandra, it can't be countered, and pluses to give an emblem that does this effect pretty much. Just at the beginning of the upkeep they take one. Having this for 3 mana is probably just better in most cases than having to wait until it's 6 and then being able to repeat it, because that thing's going to get removed. This thing likely doesn't get removed, at least early on, because you have other stuff to be worrying about. Okay, that's interesting. I would love to Duress right now, but I don't know if taking all that damage is really good. So we could kill the thing. And lose 2. And then save Foulmire Knight for something later. Sure, I mean we have another one in hand. We're trying to chip in damage right now. The problem is they're now at 5 mana, which means Nissa might be coming up. But if Nissa's coming up, then that means we have to draw a land to be able to Murderous Rider Nissa and play Foulmire Knight to block the land for now. Yeah. Oh, they did that on their upkeep. That's fine with us, actually, sir. Now we will Duress you. We will take Death Sprout. They have that, which is scary, because we cannot kill it. We'll play this to block Krull Harpooner. And then we'll swing for 1. We'll probably end up Murderous Ridering this Flying Demon Boy. Okay, they don't use it. Absolutely. Play this. We could duress again, but honestly, they're beating us down with creatures. They have creatures in their graveyard, and creatures in their hand. They play a Nissa, then whoop-de-doo, we Murderous Rider it next turn. So we have a response for things. Where is this going? Ooh, fun and exciting. They only have that in hand now. So is it just appropriate to Murderous Rider and that's it? Yeah, sure. We need these... We need lands for Gary. So... we'll take that. He drain for 2. They play Spawn, which we have to kill this upcoming turn. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They will just need another land drop. Oh, no, they have it. 2 mana dorks out. Okay. At this point, it's about staying alive. There's a land. We're gonna get this big baddie, but we can block him, so we don't care. Alright! Not bad. Oh no! Very bad. Actually, they're not casting this, so that's fine with us. Their deck has... What? They're playing like an 80-card deck. Why? More? Why? If anybody out there is wondering how to build the best deck they can in any format, traditionally they're called 60-card formats because you want to be running 60 cards. It narrows your ability to draw win cons and interaction. The things that you put in your deck that you really want to see are going to be harder to see when you have more than 60 cards in your library. I learned that when I used to do pre-release stuff in the card pool for pre-release things are 40, by the way, good game. 40 cards, and I built a 60-card deck because that's how I knew to build decks back then, but it made it so all of the good cards that I wanted to see from my draft pool just got glossed over, basically, because I was drawing one of my 24 lands, or all of these other small cards that don't really do anything or don't fit with a theme, because I just kind of threw them in there. If you have a purpose to putting more than 60 cards in your deck, then by all means do it, but honestly, you're probably better off just going with 60. Anyway, that was a good collection of games. I'm very impressed with what Mono Black can be doing in the format in the future. There's a lot of other options that you could put in with different aggressive strategies. If you're going more creature heavy, if you want to really go in onto that draw card damage or the discard damage thing, there's tons of ways you could do that. you can splash into other colors and not really have it be too problematic for you. There's actually cards that I think would work really well with Devotion, and that's these double-costed things. Because if you really wanted to try, you could build Devotion in both the colors at the same time, but honestly, this is probably just a better mono-black Devotion color creature. Giving Indestructible is really great, giving a Lifelink is really great. It adds to the draining and gaining life and getting out of reach of aggro and things like that. And then also being indestructible can be pretty nice, although we're getting a lot of removal that deals with indestructible threats because of the gods. But like I said earlier on, if you guys are interested in seeing this deck right here featured later on in a different video, I tried to record it before, had a couple of problems, and wasn't very impressed with the performance of the build that I had at the time, but now I'm a little more happy with where it's at. So, you know, it's very, very easy to have most of these cards, and a lot of you probably might already because they're so important. And it costs 0 Theros cards, so if you're out of wild cards for now, then it actually makes it a little more affordable for you. Yeah, I forgot to go over the sideboard, which is very important for a deck with 8 tutors. Sideboard tutors. Alright, but that's been me, guys. I hope you guys enjoy these kind of videos. I like making them. I know I don't do it too often, but I'm just a guy at college with a mic in my room. So I'm just trying my best. I hope you guys enjoy what I do. I like to analyze what kind of stuff is going on in the meta a lot, so I'm thinking about doing a little more of that. Talking about which decks are going to be more tier, getting better, getting worse, things like that. For an offhand, I think Mono Black and Selesnya enchantments are going to be overrunning the format for quite a while. I think Fires of Invention is going to be even more broken just because there are things like the new gods and Perforos and other escape mechanics that are going to allow you to use your mana and cast 2 spells without actually having things be cast, which it's probably going to get a little worse for us with Fires, and we might see a ban of Fires in the future. That's my prediction for now. I think it could get as impressive as Oko pretty soon, especially with now 2 4-mana board wipes in their colors, the white one and the red one. What is the white one called? Like Shatter the Sky or something. Let's take a look. We get... Yep, Shadow the Sky is 4 mana. Each player controls a creature with power 4 or greater draws a card, which could be you if you're running Fires because of your Cavaliers, and then you destroy all creatures, which also benefits you because your Cavaliers have death triggers, and if you're running escape mechanics, then you're just escaping things out of the graveyard anyway, and all the Titans are higher than 4, and your Planeswalkers, if you're playing the Planeswalker build of Fires, don't die from this anyway, so you don't care. Yeah, so that... it's going to make it pretty difficult to deal with Fires of Invention in a while. You're not going to be able to go up under it with aggro quite as easily because they don't have to wait till turn 5 to time wipe you. They don't have to reveal Fae of Wishes getting time wipe to do that. They can basically just do it on turn 4 right when they drop Fires, so all of the work that you've been doing to whittle them down is kind of null and void. And they can even run Storm's Wrath, which is kind of similar to the Hour of Devastation board wipe that we had back in Hour of Devastation that kind of... I don't want to say it was the premier board wipe because I think Fumigate was still around, and that was probably a little bit better, but it was really, really good to deal 5 damage to creatures and Planeswalkers, and because this also kills Planeswalkers, it's going to give Fires a tool to mass wipe Planeswalkers, which, again, is just not going to be very fun because a part of being able to beat Fires is that you're basically either playing Fires as well, or you're just running a Planeswalker deck that gets value off of things other than creatures. And I don't know. I think it's highly likely we see a ban of Fires, and I think that the 2 decks that are going to get around a lot of that are probably Selesnya enchantments and Mono Black Devotion, but we'll have to see. Anyway, I really appreciate it if you guys watched this video, if you give it a like on whichever social media platform you found it, being Reddit, Twitter, or YouTube. And I hope you guys will come back in the future for other things I'm doing. I appreciate it, guys. Have a great day.